Mike, how are you, man?
Great to be talking with you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. How's the weather down there in New York?
It's getting terrible. It's getting cold, but I look forward. I know that Citigroup is going to be flying you and I out to Barbados in a couple of weeks for the
Yes.
secret Illuminati meeting.
Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to that. And
Man,
yeah, because
man, let people
Clinton
tell it.
cash isn't nothing.
Dude, like Clinton Cash don't play, man. Like I'm rolling in the dough, man.
Yeah, that's real.
I'm literally not working in the mornings and then coming to do the show at night because I get paid so well from Clinton. Folks, what we're talking about, me and Michael, we just been kind of joking about how quickly, how quickly he and I and people like us who don't toe any particular line. For me, I just like to sit in the gray, right? I like to sit in that uncomfortable area where we're going to consider everything. And very quickly after the primaries, we became outcasts. Like we are the pariah. We are the sellouts, man. Tell me about, like, I talk about it in my perspective all the time on my show. So I'm not going to bitch too much tonight. Tell me what you've run into since the primaries and tell me how you are a sellout and enjoying your shill for Hillary.
Well, obviously, first and foremost, it's the Barbados thing.
It's a joke.
And I enjoy it immensely. Look, I think on one hand, no doubt with the majority report, we've cut a distinct line, and fortunately, a lot of our audience likes it or accepts it to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that, and I said from the very beginning, and we talked about on the show, I was a very adamant Bernie Sanders supporter. I have a very strong critique of the Clintons. But I always said from the beginning, too, that not only would I, support Hillary if unfortunately she was the nominee,
Mm-hmm.
but also that we need to think about politics in terms of structure and institution and less about personalities. It's fun to make fun of personalities,
Yes.
and personalities matter to some extent. But even just with Hillary, this notion that you can understand her through the personal filter of her, whatever you think of her, whether you think that she's, and I happen to think that people on many sides of the equation have very overwrought, melodramatic, and frankly, oftentimes just stupid in both pro and anti-Hillary directions views of her. But in some ways, that's besides the point. So even if you look at those WikiLeaks documents, and I did a segment about this recently, the biggest conclusion is, first of all, it confirms the obvious. I don't think it's any shock to anybody who was strongly on the side of Bernie during the primary that, of course, the sort of more mainstream elite Democratic institutions would be, pro-Hillary. That's not remote surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And then in other areas, it actually reveals that, she's susceptible to pressure on things like TPP because she's in the Democratic Party. That's the key point here. It's about institutional pressure and institutional structure. On the flip side, Donald Trump, who again, I always thought he'd win the Republican primary, and then I always thought he'd lose pretty comfortably in the general and then launch a TV network. So
That's
the calls
exactly
are
what it
going
looks
pretty
like.
well for me so
Yeah.
far. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. But I think the thing with Donald Trump, even, people wanted to kind of do this silly spin that, he's unpredictable, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't need to be. The ways in which he's unpredictable are dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ways in which they're predictable are obvious. Paul Ryan sends him a disgusting budget. He signs it. It's not that complicated. Again, it's institutions.
Well,
So,
Mike, let me jump in there. Let me jump in there only because I really don't want to be. I hear you. I really don't want to talk about Hillary. Because I really brought you on to talk about NATO. But more importantly than NATO, more importantly than NATO is the fact that they call us sellouts. No, I'm just being an asshole at this point.
Sure.
But you said something so important, man. You said something so important that made me almost jump out of my seat. You said we have to stop looking at politics through the lens of personality and look at it through the lens of structure and institutions. And man, I swear that's so important. I was formulating that exact thought in my head this week. And the reason I was doing it was really on the international relations, foreign policy front. Because if we continuously, and even domestically, right, it fits. It's like a universal paradigm almost. If we continue to look at people and to say this person is good, that person is evil, we are completely incapable of giving a serious analysis of what's going on. Then we are completely incapable of giving a solution or even offering an idea of a solution, because we're stuck in this good versus evil paradigm that is completely irrelevant. What's relevant is our institutions and
it's
forces.
childish moral games.
Exactly.
It's childish moralism, and it's not solving anything. And nobody who is on the receiving end of anything has time for that. And I'll just say, in 30 seconds, look, and of course, I've been a sellout, and I've heard all this nonsense targeted at me. I'm someone where, at least as an example, with an issue like poverty, I'll say in my background and my upbringing, that is not an abstraction to me. That's something I've dealt with very seriously in my life. And I take an approach to politics that's a hybrid. I have very, very committed left politics. I probably have more left politics in many ways than
me.
Some sort of anti-Hillary commandos on Twitter. But I also take my job, as a for lack of a better word, an educator seriously. There is some role in that, what we're doing. I'm here to promote a very specific set of values and policies, and I'm also trying to help people understand the way the system works more effectively. And simplistic moralism never going to get you there.
Never, ever, ever, ever. And I swear, people, I read comments all the time. It's something I shouldn't do, but I do, because it just makes me numb to anybody. Like, I'm completely dead to the world when it comes to comments. I'm like, bring your best, because I'm the biggest troll of them all. But I was reading some comments, and one person wanted to make it clear that in the case of Assad versus Obama, that I was telling them, don't make Assad a hero, right? Don't make him a hero because he's on the opposite side of American imperialism. But then they made the comment of, Ben doesn't want to say it, but Obama is as evil as Assad. And I'm like, that statement is the most useless and most irrelevant statement of them all, because it has nothing to do with moral perspective. It has nothing to do with morality. It has everything to do with the structures that surround these people who lead these states that are interacting in a anarchical society that really, it's almost the Wild West, and the only thing that really matters are the structures that constrain them. If all you care about is America is evil, then you're completely incapable of even giving us a solution on how to make America better. Thank you so much for saying that, because that's something I hadn't even voiced yet on my show, but I was just thinking that this week. I was putting that together, and you put it so succinctly.